Welcome to Conversations with Asha and Steve, where communication matters. Join us as we discuss effective ways to communicate, bridge the gaps, and build long-lasting relationships within your business and life. Here are your hosts, Asha Prasad and Steve Harper.
What's going on, Dr. Asha? How are you?
Good, Steve. How are you? Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. Welcome to another episode of Conversations with Asha and Steve. We are live streaming today. Asha, are you ready for it? We're actually on LinkedIn today.
Oh my God. Yay.
I have no idea how we got there, but somehow the background check passed and we're on there. So we may have a lot of people disconnect from us on LinkedIn after this episode, but I'm not,
That's okay.
Hey, we're at least there. So
yes,
progress.
That's awesome.
Progress. We hope everybody's having a great day. This is, our regular Friday live stream. Last week we were not live. We had an episode rewind for Conversations with Asha and Steve. We actually went back to the beginning episode of the year, right? And played that. And some people kind of enjoyed how energetic and enthusiastic we were about the upcoming year, which
I know. And here we are, almost 9 months later. And I mean, I've got still the same enthusiasm, right? Steve, you do too in some ways, but it's kind of crazy though. I was listening to that episode and I had a client of mine listen to it and he's just like, I can't believe like the 8 months. Like, do you guys feel like it's been 8 months since you recorded that or whenever you guys were live? And I said, no, actually it doesn't. This year's been going by really fast, but it makes you just realize that, what all can happen in 9 months.
Yeah, it's really funny. I had somebody tell me that they enjoyed, watching that and listening to us again. Actually, we actually had a headliner video, right? So it was more of a audio play.
Exactly.
And because I think at that point, I don't know if we were doing the video or not yet. We were live streaming, but I had somebody that was telling me
we were traveling.
How interesting it was that we, how much has happened in the last 7 months and all the positivity and enthusiasm that we had for the upcoming year. And then, you get into 21, we're like, all right, 20 is gone. It's behind us. And, it's smooth sailing from here. And hasn't quite worked out.
Not really. It's actually just a continuation. I always tell people, I'm like, we're in the 20th month of 2020. I'm just like, we've just been continuing the year. It's okay.
It's okay. 2022. That is our year, right? That's good.
There you go. Yeah. That's it.
So, we've, had an interesting week. You and I've been super busy. We got together and we were talking about different things that we plan on doing for the show. An early plug for one of, our first time on Conversations with Asha and Steve. We're going to have our first guest next Friday.
Yes.
Are you excited?
I'm super excited. And I hope that he's excited to be with us because he's such a great guy.
Yeah, he is a great guy. Yeah. Oh yeah. Mark Schwartz is, been working with Asha and I for more years than he really cares to count.
And he really likes to. I know.
Yeah, and he is going to be our guest next week. We're going to talk about how difficult Asha was to work on or work with getting her book out.
He's going to have a lot to talk about. I'm telling you what, get ready. There's going to be a couple hours of that.
I mean, you actually met Asha, you met Asha. You met Mark, through me originally, and you guys have already gotten several books out, and you make me look like I'm a slacker. Thank you for that.
No, not at all, Steve. No, you know what? It's so true that I met him through you. Actually, I think it was at your book launch or right before then, whenever you were doing the 8-minute ripples all around Austin area. And I met him then. And then you reconnected us years later as well. It's you know what? It's a very interesting thing because I'm sure that curious whenever we interview him next week, because I'm pretty sure that you and I work differently with him. I mean, because we're different people, of course, but I'm just curious from his perspective, what it's been like.
Well, he's one of our viewers right now. He said, I think we should jump ahead to 2024 just to be safe. I don't know if that's his intention is to get out of being interviewed next week, but no way. Jose, you are in for
You-
a wild
you're in
ride next
for
week.
it.
It's gonna be a lot of fun. But we're pretty excited because
Yeah.
this is actually the first interview
Yeah.
that we've ever done here. So this will be a new experience for us for sure.
Yes, definitely.
But
Definitely.
it's been fun working with him because he's for those of you, we probably didn't set that up appropriately, and we'll go into this in more detail. But Mark has worked with us as our editor and sort of the brains behind our book, the books that we've
Yes.
produced, and experience working with him has just been phenomenal because he pulls things out of us that I don't think we can often
Yes.
see in ourselves, and have made our work just that much crisper, much more clearer, and certainly something
Yeah.
that we can be proud of.
Yeah, absolutely. No, so he's yeah, so he'll be joining us. But you know what, Steve? You did kind of tell me that you had a little guest today
A
that
li-
you wanted to introduce.
Oh, a little guest.
I mean, this is an inanimate object, of course, but
You can't
that's
really see it
okay.
on camera though, but this is a Yoda head in
Oh
a
yeah,
rock. My son Zach
yeah,
brought my son Zach, I think, has been on vacation all summer. Lucky
that's
kid
awesome.
that he is. But he's about to start UT MBA program, so I'm super proud of him. But he got an
Awesome.
opportunity to go with his girlfriend's family to Disney World in California last
Hmm.
week. And he brought me this phenomenal, because I'm such a nerd, Star Wars nerd, you know this about me. Brought me this really cool book I'm going to be digging into this week about the
Okay.
original 3 movies and all the behind the
Oh,
scenes
okay.
things. I'll have to show it to you at some point. But then he brought me this little Yoda for my pocket, and so I now
That's
have
cute.
a new lucky charm that I can carry around. So much better than a rabbit's foot. Yoda would just eat a rabbit's foot. So up, this is.
So is that your good luck charm, Steve? Like, what happens to you whenever you like carry the Yoda around with you? Like, do you get superpowers or what?
All the Yoda wisdom just seems to come through. I don't know what it is,
Uh-oh,
but
watch
yeah,
out.
it just.
Watch out,
Uh,
world.
I've only had it for 2 days, so I really haven't had anything lucky happen to me. But I'm forecasting positive things ahead for me,
Perfect.
and the opportunity
Okay.
for this to
That's
become
awesome.
my new lucky charm. I have several. I'm superstitious
Yeah.
that way, but I think you got it.
Okay. Oh,
So, but yeah, he's our inanimate guest today.
yes, that's right. But
So
Mark,
how
the
was your
official.
week?
Yeah.
How was your week? Since we weren't live last week, we did the Ripple rewind, or
Yeah.
not the. I keep saying Ripple. The
It's
conversation
okay.
with Asha and Steve
The
rewind
rewind.
episode.
It's okay.
Ripple's on my mind all the time. You know that. So
It's a ripple.
yeah,
It's a ripple
yeah.
in itself.
So
It
did you
is.
have a productive week? I know you were working on some
Yeah.
exciting things for your business, and
It's been very productive. It's funny, Steve, because I realized something this week, and this just happened when I was talking to a client of mine about like the way that we talk to ourselves and using affirmations and self-talk and all this other stuff. And I caught myself on something my own self
oh,
because yeah, I really did, because I realized, because things have been really ramping up, really, really active in practice and seeing patients and stuff. But I caught myself saying that I'm really busy. And I had weaned myself off of that and replaced it with I am being productive, or I'm really productive. There's a different connotation with that, right? But I caught myself saying that this week, that, you know what, I'm really busy. But see, what that does is it
yep,
stresses you out the minute you say that.
yeah,
And so it was funny because, yes, I had a very, very productive week.
that's good. That's good.
From that perspective, it's really, yeah, there's lots of exciting things that I'm working on. You've inspired me to get my books into audio version. So I am working on that. You've inspired me on that. So I am working on that. And that's been an interesting it's an interesting experience, right? When you
Yeah.
read something out loud, and yeah, I don't know. That's been kind of an exciting thing this week.
So, I've got to give a quick shout out to Dr. Shelley, who's joining us, and she gave us a thumbs up on
Yeah.
Facebook. We appreciate that. Thanks for always joining, Shelley. What has been the most surprising thing that you've learned about doing this audiobook? So you're doing it prior to your launch, which is coming up in a few weeks
Mm-hmm.
for the new book. And in
Yeah.
fact, I've got a graphic for your new book just
You
to embarrass
too.
you. Yeah, I've just got to find it.
Oh,
Hang on, stand by.
it's funny, Steve, because okay.
There it is, The Chrysalis Awakening.
Yeah.
5 questions for rediscovering your purpose and potential in uncertain times. Available now for pre-order on Amazon.
Yes.
So We're super excited for Dr. Asha for this book. I mean, you're just crushing it with all the great stuff that you're doing. But now, what was the most surprising thing you've learned so far in doing the audiobook?
Well, it's interesting because you get to experience your thoughts and your ideas out loud, like, as a presentation in a way. And it just kind of surprises you. You're like, really? Wow. Okay. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, I don't know. I'm having like this outer body experience when I'm doing it. It's been really a lot. How about you, Steve? Because I mean, did you have that same experience for yourself? Like, what was your experience?
I did. I'll tell you, it was the most enjoyable experience and also the most painful experience I've ever been through in my entire life, because I would record it. And then, there were a couple things. Number one, I recorded the entire audiobook at a setting that I had read was appropriate. And then I found out that, the submission site that you and I have talked about that you have to go through, change their particulars, right? Because if you're not a professional publishing house, or you don't have like a professional studio or engineer, they're a little harder on, your sort of do-it-yourself recordings. Adobe Audible made the process very, very simple. But man, I was tired of listening to my own self-talk after a while.
I know, right?
And then I get to points in my book where like, what the hell was I thinking when I wrote this? I just did this third edition, so I should have gone through it. But then I'm like, what did I mean at this point? And you're trying to bring the emotion into it. And so I found that I just started going off on little tangents. So when people download my book, The Ripple Effect, third edition on Audible, you get a little bonus craziness in the book because, I just happened to throw some stuff in there that probably wasn't appropriate. But fortunately, they didn't catch it, and they allowed me to publish it, so it worked out. But it was an interesting experience.
Little ad-libs. Yeah,
it's been fun. It was like you said, it was sort of an enlightening experience because you got to experience the process of going through being that sound engineer, being that that editor. I would advise anybody that might be thinking about doing a book, record the audiobook first, because you find things that I would have said this differently, or I might have done it. And when you say it out loud, you read it during the editing process, you read and read and read. And it's mind numbing. And Mark, who you guys will meet next week, makes you do it over and over and over again. And so at the end, it's like, I'm sure I was like, oh yeah, I read it. No problem. No problem.
Sure. You're like, I did not.
But when I actually had to read it out loud, it was like, oh, okay,
exactly.
Maybe, I could have done this or I could have done that. But the audio experience gave me an opportunity to just bring that content to life. So I really enjoyed it. Hey, we got John Campbell in the house, who just gave us our first, actually Mark was the first ever comment on LinkedIn. We've never been on LinkedIn, so we're super excited to be here. But John, thank you for joining us. I hope you're doing well. John just recently took a new role and exciting change in his career path, and I'm super proud of him. And he's one of the most positive, upbeat dudes on the planet. And then Shelly just said, tangents add flavor. I agree. Our entire show here is built around that flavorful tangent.
Yes, it is. Especially today. We had a plan for today. Just want to let our listeners know we did, because we just did. We talked 2 days ago. We're like, this is a good plan. But like I was telling Steve, and this is probably most entrepreneurs, is that, you're just so in the moment and you get distracted and you kind of go from this to that. And we're the same way, right, Steve? I don't feel the same way that I did 2 days ago at all that I do right now sitting with you.
Yeah, so I came prepared for today's agenda, because when you give me marching orders, I pay attention, because when I haven't paid attention before, then you get angry with me because you're like, what are you, like, squirrel, okay, so I need to pay attention. And then you show up and like, let's just go different today. We're doing something different. So it's like, okay. So, you're leading the effort today.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, you got to go with what you feel. Yeah.
Well, you do. And it was actually kind of funny because, sometimes, and we've talked about this on prior episodes, if this is the first time joining us for a live stream, this is actually part of our podcast. We actually put these up on all of the podcast platforms, but we've been live streaming to Facebook and YouTube and to Twitter for
And to Twitter.
Probably the better part of a year, Dr. Asha talked me into doing this, flipping the camera on and doing something a little bit differently. I do not like myself on camera, yet you would think as many videos as I've been cranking out as of late, I must be in love with myself. I'm not.
I think you secretly do, Steve. I think you secretly do.
No, I scare people away with my face. So if you could just like kind of cover this area and just look at Dr. Asha, then you'll want to stay in the show here. But it has been a really interesting experience for us, and we have been trying forever to get on LinkedIn, and they don't tell you anything. We apply, and they're like, it's being reviewed. We've done it several times. We tried it during during lockdown, and then a couple more times, and then we kind of gave up, and then lo and behold, LinkedIn just approved us today. So perhaps after this show, we may be disapproved. I don't know. It's very possible, but I don't know. But we're excited to have this new audience and this new opportunity to share some of our thoughts and ideas. Conversations with Asha and Steve is really what it sounds like. It's kind of just conversation between two really good friends who have been there supporting one another through the entrepreneurial journey for a long time, more years than we care to admit at this point, right?
We were children when we started.
Yeah, I mean, I met Asha when she was 5 and I was, 25, but she was like one of my, muses at that point. So she was like, hey, it's okay. But for those of you that don't know, Dr. Asha is actually broadcasting from the future. She is on the other side of the planet right now and has been for a long time. She and I knew each other in Austin, and she went all the way over to the Netherlands to get away from me. And then I tracked her down to do the show.
And he still found me.
Yeah, still found you.
So, but what's been interesting about that whole journey too, Steve, one of the things that's interesting, because we knew each other, back in Austin and the entrepreneurial journey there. And since I've moved over here, I've had a whole other perspective on the entrepreneurial journey, because you do that in a different foreign country, foreign language and everything like that. It changes the game, but certain things still apply. Certain basic principles still apply no matter where you are. And so that's been really interesting that we've been able to share with our listeners and people from all over the world, just how they can get started wherever they are on their own journey. So it's been fun.
Well, and kind of along what you just said prior to my going on my tangent was, sometimes you just kind of throw caution to the wind and do things differently. Yes. And you kind of had to go over there and sort of be super adaptable, right? And as entrepreneurs and business owners, that's a really important aspect, right? Things are not always going to line up exactly the way that they should or you think they should. And you have to be flexible and adaptable. When you first moved over there, what were some of the things that sort of, kind of threw you for a loop as you started to learn the language and then said, hey, I'm going to set up shop and open a couple of clinics here? That had to, it's just monumentally fascinating to me that you have been able to do it and be so successful. I mean, you're like the #1 chiropractor in all of the land. People know you everywhere. I mean, you have a huge following of patients, not just for what you do as a chiropractor, but because of what you do for your coaching and your business, just your entrepreneurship and coaching skill.
Well, it's interesting because I think in the beginning, when you're trying to get used to a different culture and you're trying to get adapted into a new place, again, like you said, you have to be really flexible and you have to be patient with yourself. That was a hard thing that I didn't realize. I got confronted with that because I didn't realize that I wasn't so patient with myself. Like I wanted to learn it now.
Well, I knew you weren't patient with
now.
Me.
No, just don't worry. It's not just you, Steve. It's me too.
That makes me feel a lot better.
But you start to, and then once you kind of do that, you kind of get, and especially whenever you get, you can see that you're getting more adapted and everything, it gives you more confidence. And then you just kind of go for it. And one of the things that I had to get past was that I knew that I wasn't going to do things the way other people were doing them necessarily. And that was okay. That was my strength. Although you especially in different cultures, you run up against a lot of friction with that because people are like, hey, wait a second, that's not how we do things here. We do it like this. And but that's also a uniqueness, and that's something that I think every entrepreneur needs to embrace your differences, embrace your out of the box thinking, because that is what's going to make a difference for your, whether it's clients, patients, customers, whoever it is. It's going to,
Do you feel like that, that approach was strengthened by going, to a foreign country and doing that? Or do you feel like you had that all along?
Mm-hmm. I had it all along, but I was really able to kind of stretch my wings out. You know what I mean? Like really kind of expand, because I basically saw it as I had nothing to lose, in the sense of I'm not from here. I mean, like, this is just a new territory. Why not? You know what? Who cares? Like, let me just try. And for some reason, I didn't have that necessarily in the States at the time that I was there. So I think I always had it in me to do that, but I got to put it into practice, like, here.
What was the driving factor? Like, the motivation for
Hmm.
picking another place on the globe to say, well,
Hmm.
that's going to be home. And I'm going to go, not only I'm going to live there, I'm going to learn the culture, I'm going to learn the language, but I
Hmm.
am actually going to become, I'm going to redo what I would have my success in Austin and in the States as an entrepreneur. How did you have the courage to do that over in another part of the world?
Yeah. You know what, Steve? I would say that's a really good question, because that is just one of those things I ask myself still. It's like, how did I do that? Why did I do that? Some days it's like, why? Why? But, honestly, this was more of a personal decision to move, because, first of all, I loved Europe and I love to travel.
Yeah.
Love to travel, love different cultures, love different, I love it. And that was one of my motivations for it, but I also knew, also personally, that I needed to have something drastically different than what my environment was providing for me at the time, in order to grow. Like, I needed to grow as a person and mature as a person. And that's exactly. And so I thought, I always loved to travel, and travel has always changed me in some way,
Yeah.
you know? So that was really what it was. And I was terrified. I can still remember being on the plane. I'll never forget this, because there was a flight attendant that was on the Lufthansa flight, and it was her last flight that she was taking before she retired.
Yeah.
Okay. And she was really being really funny and joking around with everybody. And she saw me, because I was just, I don't know, I must have had a look on my face that I was just like sitting there with regret, going, what the heck am I doing? So she came, the seat next to me was free, and she came and she sat down. She said, what's going on with you? Why are you going to Europe? And so I started explaining my story to her, and I said, I'm starting to regret this. Like, I don't know anybody there. I don't know the language. What am I doing? And so she got me a drink, a nice, beverage
Adult
to
beverage.
that would pretty much knock me out later. But anyway, and then she just sat and she talked to me about, like, how she became a flight attendant, and like this whole career path, and it was just the perfect conversation.
Yeah.
That I thought, you know what, by the time I got out of the plane in Amsterdam, I was just like, I can do this. This is okay. It's okay.
And
Yeah.
Amsterdam was the ultimate destination, right? That's where you live. Somebody just asked if
No,
where exactly is home for you.
no, I live in the south of the Netherlands. Netherlands is such a tiny place.
Yeah.
It's such a tiny country, but I live closer to the Belgium and German borders. So
So
I live
is
down in
there
the
like a
south.
city? Is
Yeah.
there a city name?
Yeah, Maastricht.
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 That's weird.
Maastricht.
We've been doing this show for a couple years from Maastricht, and I apparently did not know that was the name of it. When people ask me,
Yes,
like,
that is.
offline, like, "Oh, I love you and Asha online. You're great." And where does
Yeah.
she live? And I'm like, "Yeah, like, Amsterdam. It's not the red light district. I can tell you that. But other than that, I don't really
Not
know."
there.
Maastricht. Yeah.
Maastricht.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
is, I mean, you guys had a lot of flooding the other day. You sent me like a
Oh
video
my
of how crazy that
God.
was with floods
It
going through
was
the.
crazy. It was crazy. I have to say, here in the Netherlands, unfortunately, I mean, like I said, I live very, very close to the German and Belgian borders. In Germany and Belgium, they really, really had it rough. I mean, we had our damage here, but it was crazy. It was really, really crazy.
Yeah.
But I know a lot of people are dealing with that around the world actually now. Isn't that weird, Steve? So much rain, so much flooding going around. But it helps you when those things happen. Helps you put things into perspective of what's important.
Yeah.
You know,
It did
right?
for Noah
So
back in the day. I mean, he built an ark.
it worked out for him.
It did work out. A lot of animals. I mean, did he have to clean all that stuff up himself? I really want to know. I mean,
I know. Oh,
how many people
gosh.
did he have, there for assistance?
I don't know. He
40
had some
days is a long
magical
time.
one that,
I'm just saying.
yeah, that is a long time with a lot of animals.
I don't know what made me think of that, but yeah, a lot of rain. Yes. Should be building the ark somewhere, right?
Yes,
It's
yes.
crazy. Well, I was thinking about when you first moved, I was like, I was wondering if you were running from, the protection order that we had been issued against us for stalking Howard Schultz at Starbucks at the time.
Oh, poor Mr. Schultz.
Asha and I had this great idea she was so instrumental in actually when I launched the Ripple, being there to support me and coax me on. And it's really one of her strengths. We're going to talk about your superpower here in just a second. Right. But at the end of the day, it was, she was the one I was like, I don't know if I can, do this. I don't know if anybody cares. And she was the one that was kind of always positively encouraging me and sort of being there to help me, try and take those next big steps. And one of the things that we had thought of at the time was, this was back a long time ago, but Starbucks used to put inspirational quotes on their cups, which were kind of fun and novelty to read, but really not actionable. And we thought, we had seen the success of the 8-Minute Ripple, this event that we put for non-networking people, and how great it was to get people to connect and engage with just the power of a question. And so we thought, what if we were to approach Starbucks about putting Ripple connection questions on the cups, right? Get people to engage. Right. And at that time, Starbucks was still, they weren't new, but they were really starting to take hold around the US. And it seemed like every other week a Starbucks was popping up in on a particular corner, and they were kind of going everywhere. But the one thing that we kept thinking and seeing was that people were going there because they wanted to have a sense of community and belonging. But you go to Starbucks and then people had their head buried in their phone or their laptop or their headphones or the paper. But inevitably, people always seemed open and wanting to connect. And so we were like, how do you make it easy for people, complete strangers, to connect and engage? And so we were like, yes, we're going to put Ripple connection questions on these cups. And we went through, remember, we had, I don't remember the guy that used to run Pepsi, but he was the CEO because Howard had stepped down and then came back. And
exactly.
Whatever it was. But I'm pretty sure we got cease and desist letters from attacking, from continually stalking them. I still have the rejection email from their legal department. They were like, hey, look, dude, seriously, stop calling me.
You. I know.
Asha was like so worried she just moved. She's like, I'm out.
I just said, I'm out of here.
I'm like, I'm out of the country.
I can't deal with this.
But I always think about that because at the time it was just it was so much fun for us to be working on those projects together. And, then we went through this, time where you were sort of building your business there and I was kind of doing my thing. And then when we came back for the crux of the show, we've been doing it over 3 years now. And originally it was just a podcast. And, I listened to some of those early episodes. I'm like, oh, man, we did not know what we were doing. I know. Is this thing on? I don't know. You're recording, you idiot.
Not that we do now. Not that we do now anymore. But no.
Somehow Asha thought it was a good idea for me to be in charge of the technology. And that's not a good idea for me to be in charge.
You know what, Steve, think about this, though. What kind of companies do you own?
Oh, yeah, technology companies.
Exactly. Look at the companies that you own and look at the companies that I own.
I would be like that heart surgeon, though. Like, you need to exercise every day and you need to eat better. And then I'd be around the corner smoking a cigarette. I don't follow my own advice. I don't do those. No, I'm kidding. I don't smoke. I just want to throw that out there.
He does exercise
non-smoking environment. No. I hire smart people to make my stuff work. That's...
Yeah.
I just I'm pretty good with the customers occasionally, so that's my strength. But yeah, the technology has been fun to figure out, and actually we kind of threw it into high gear during COVID because when we decided we were going to live stream, we're like, okay, what platforms can we use, and how do we want to do this? And it's amazing because when we first started, and it was probably because a lot more people were at home, but the live streams have gotten crisper and cleaner because we don't have any interruptions to the internet, fortunately, and we're stable here and you seem to be stable where you're at, which is great. And, we've just continued to chug along, and every episode that we do is just a learning experience, which has been fun.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. No, it has been. It has been. Steve, we probably started flipping on the camera, I think, in COVID or when COVID hit, right?
Yeah, literally the week after there was the lockdown, because I think we hadn't seen each other on video, and we're like, hey, well, everybody's Zooming, right? So let's try that and figure it out. And but yeah,
exactly.
But look at where we are now. We're now on LinkedIn.
I know. I know. So happy about that. That's
I mean,
great. So
today we're on LinkedIn. We could be off LinkedIn tomorrow. I have no idea, but
exactly. I do want to say if there's anybody that's joining us for the first time, especially since we are with a new audience, LinkedIn, we're very happy to be here. But any comments that you want to leave, for us, any questions that you have, or anything about entrepreneurship, leadership, really anything. I mean, we cover a whole gamut of topics
yeah.
on our a whole gamut, as you can probably imagine. But basically, we're putting both of our heads together. Steve and I both coach clients individually. We've done some joint ventures as well in that, and helping people being the best version of themselves,
Yeah.
the best leader, the best entrepreneur, best person, best contributor to society, whatever that is. So yeah, just want to say that because I'm sure we probably have some new people seeing us today.
Yep. There's a comment there. It's by an unknown
Yep.
person that says, Dr. Asha, why do you have this guy on the podcast with you? You should just be speaking.
Yeah, right.
I can't put it on screen for some reason. I have no idea why. But again, technology deficient here.
No.
So I have a question for you because we a lot of times these conversations, are stimulated by questions that we ask offline. But, one of the things that, we put in our little editorial document was at some point we would cover this. What do you consider your superpower?
Superpower.
The art of the pause.
do I have, I know, I'm like, do I have a superpower? I would say, you know what? I think one of my superpowers, Stephen, I don't know if it's a superpower, but it is something that I noticed that I have a tendency to do rather quickly when I'm interacting with somebody, especially, when I'm meeting somebody for the first time, that I'm pretty good about assessing exactly like where they are, like what their mood is and what, like, you know what I mean? Like if they're off, if they're on, on whatever it is, it's like, I can just kind of assess that like within a few minutes. I would consider that a superpower.
I would agree because when I first met you, I remember you walking up to me at an event and like, what is wrong with you?
No.
You were
Not
like,
at all.
Something's off with you, dude. Energetically.
Something's off with you.
But I know
No,
I've
but I
seen
think,
seen that at work with you, right? I mean, you do have and possess that skill to be able to sort of look at and see people through the, beyond the surface, right? And sort of, maybe it's intuition, maybe it's, kind of reading the tea leaves a little bit, but you have this innate sense of being able to put people at ease to the point that they want to talk to you, which is incredible. It's why you're successful in all your different business ventures, because I think ultimately that is such a huge value to anybody, because so many of us out here in the world, the world is a busy, fast-paced, environment. And a lot of times people don't just stop long enough to like look at who's in front of them or to even acknowledge somebody, whether they are at an event like you did me when we first met, or somebody that, maybe a complete stranger, or maybe somebody that you have seen and known for a while, but you really haven't taken the situation hasn't been at the point where you've had the opportunity to just stop and have a legitimate conversation with them. And you have a really good way of kind of digging through all the BS and getting to the core of who that person is.
Thanks, Steve. Yeah, no, I would say, that's my superpower. How about you? What's yours?
I think I am I'm good at discovering opportunity to help people connect, right? The thing that I like the most is helping people connect ideas. I like figuring out, helping people connect the various, connections into relationships that they might have for their life and their world, the things that would benefit them. But I would say that art of connection is probably one of my superpowers, but also being able to see beyond what other folks maybe see in themselves. To be able to say, this is who you need to talk to because this is where you need to go to get that solution or get this problem solved or take this idea to the next level. And it has been, I used to think it was not a huge deal, right? Everybody has that. Everybody can do that. But very few people actually go out of their way to actually assist others. And you have to have a curiosity about them. You have to have an interest in wanting to help and be a contributor out there in the world. And so I think for me, that's kind of my superpower, is really having an innate interest and curiosity about all the people that I meet and figuring out what can I be doing to help you. I ask that question all the time to people. It's the best question if you want to build relationships is how can I help you? And, most people won't take advantage of it at the time, but sometimes you just get surprised by somebody who says, well, I really could use, your guidance or direction or advice here, or I could use, some connections to open up this thought, this idea into maybe a startup or whatever, a side hustle. And I love that because I love kind of trying to figure out how to take all the weird relationships and fit them all together as one complete piece, right? And figuring out the puzzle of life, really.
Definitely, Steve. I mean, that is definitely your superpower. And you are really, really good about connecting all those dots. And just like immediately, I can't think of a time that I've asked you something and you not say, you know what, I think I might know somebody with that. Or I think I might know something that can help you. Really, it's a gift because I don't think everybody can do that. Not everybody. Definitely people can learn to connect with people, but then beyond that, beyond their own connection, being able to really see the bigger picture, I think that you really do have a gift for that. So,
well, I appreciate that. Thank you. Kellyanne just agreed with you. I appreciate you tuning in, Kellyanne. You're going to be on a video chat with me next week. You just don't know it yet. So that's coming in an email later today. So thank you for tuning in today. But, I really do appreciate that. I love that. I think actually that's been, so, it's funny. It's a little known fact, and you always laugh when I say it, but I'm introverted and shy. Right. And I always have been. So it's, being in a networking event, even though I wrote a book on networking, it's not my favorite place. Right. But if I can get one-on-one with somebody or I can get engaged in a conversation, all of us need something. Right. Which is kind of the interesting thing that I think for me and my nomenclature, I talk to, the folks that follow me and that are buy into what I do. I call those ripplers. You're definitely a rippler. You're always looking to do the positive things out there in the world and make a difference. And I tell those folks that, you only can do that. Connecting is a contact sport. You only get good at it by doing it more. And I have to, I have to eat my own dog food to take a, page from Microsoft and actually do it as well. And so I was speaking at an event this past week and just saying introverted and shy is not a crutch you can rely on if you plan to feed yourself, right? You have to be have to be good at what it is. You have to connect either with your colleagues at work or your managers, or if you're running a company, you got to build the right kinds of people, have the right kinds of teams. You got to be really good for the clients that you work with and you support. And ultimately trying to figure out what that is that person needs, right? Trying to figure out ways that you can contribute and help. And I tell people, and you could ask that question 5-6 times. People will be like, no, I'm good. I appreciate it. But the fact you continue to ask it, and you do it with a good heart and there's a purity about it, with no hidden agenda, because I'm not looking for any kind of payback. I'm not looking for, maybe I should. I've turned some really good, productive financial connections into really big things, but I don't go into it from that perspective. So people, when they do ask, they know that if I'm able to help or contribute in some way, it's coming from a place of goodness.
Yeah, no, exactly. It definitely does, Steve. You've helped thousands of people, more than thousands.
Thanks. I appreciate that. Howard Schultz, we're still out there. Asha is willing to come back to talk to you.
I'll come back. I'll come back to talk to you.
We're going to change it though. I have decided, little known fact about Asha is that she has her own person that she stalks, Richard Branson, for a seat on his space plane. Lots of money for 3 seconds of thrill. Well, hey, you don't have to throw anything at the camera. Jeez, Pete, relax.
I think I just muted myself.
No, now you're good. Man, you say anything about Richard Branson around Asha that's even negative, she starts getting violent. Wow. So Asha is trying to get a seat on Richard Branson's new space plane. She wants to be a part of the Jetsons. We'll that's what she wants to be.
That would be so cool.
But that's who we have to go after next, I say.
I would love to have him on our show, Steve. I think Mr. Branson, absolutely, Sir Richard Branson,
yes.
I know, exactly.
So I have been holding this, there's a little known, connection that I have.
Okay.
that has a connection to Sir Richard Branson. And
Okay.
I'm going to work on trying to get him to be maybe our second guest on
That would be great.
And you can then
awesome.
beg him for a seat on his little space plane.
But there's you know what? Be careful of what you're saying now, Steve, because I'm going to have a requirement that goes along with that.
Yeah, parachute. That's what the requirement needs to be.
Yeah.
A jetpack, potentially. No way in hell would I go up in that thing. No way.
Come on, for a minute and a half, you could handle it.
I don't like roller coasters, and those are on the ground for the most part. Not going up there.
For the most part, they are.
But, I mean, we have to, you and I talked about this offline, but your other favorite guy, not so much. He also has a space venture. What's up with this? What do you call him?
I don't call him anything, Steve. We don't want to get banned off of anything.
Okay, we won't go into what she says actually, but we were talking about Jeff Bezos's spaceship, and it didn't look as cool as Richard Branson's.
No,
space plane.
It had a very different look about it.
It did.
It had a very different look
but if
about it.
Bezos came to you and said, "Hey, we will let you be on there before Richard Branson did," would you go?
No, I would not.
Really? He's charging more money for his thing.
No, it's not even about that, Steve. The way I look at it, there's always this thing. What is the why of what somebody's doing?
Yeah, I like
and you
that.
got to align yourself with that. So, sorry, no, I wouldn't.
Well, to that point, why did they make a plane and not a spaceship?
Because it needs to be like, they want to build it to be like a tourism kind of thing, and that's more like, I don't know. People can relate to it better, I guess, in that way, I mean, from that perspective, because you don't think about getting on a spaceship for a trip, like, not yet anyway. I don't know, maybe years from now.
Yeah.
But
I mean, do you think it'll happen in our lifetime that people are going up and doing that?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. I think like really in about 10 years time, maybe give or take. I mean, maybe even less, who knows? I think it will happen.
Yeah.
I think we'll definitely be able to see it. So, which will be really cool to be able to see that. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I mean, I kind of go back and forth about this whole tourism in space, because I'm like, we've got so many issues going on here on our Earth, on Mother Earth, that we should be taking care of as well for the same investments and money. Like, is that really a wise thing to do? But you know what? But I think that we're going to see a lot of space travel in our time.
Yeah.
Kind of cool.
I think it might happen. It'll be interesting. I mean, it's the interesting thing I have seen about all this sort of re-engineered interest in the space program is the fact that all this innovation is coming to the forefront. Like all the ingenuity, all of the technology that's being created. And if you think, for them to go up for, the minute and a half or the, 30 seconds that Bezos was up there or whatever, I mean, it was all the effort that went in to make that happen was pretty impressive. But you think about all the technology we have now. We walk around with a cell phone in our pocket that has more technology attached to it than what we put in the crafts to send, into the moon, right?
It's true. It's pretty amazing.
So
it's pretty amazing.
You have to think with the technological advantages that we have now, the advances that have been made. And you look at Elon Musk's, program and how cool that whole thing. I mean, they have like widescreen. I mean, that cockpit looks like it came from Star Trek. I mean, it was that was pretty awesome. I will say. I might go on that one. I think I would get to the space station and be like, "Hey, this is pretty cool," but I mean, I don't like living in a tuna can. So can we get? I mean, when do we go back? I mean, do I catch the 5 o'clock or how does this work? I don't understand.
Exactly. How does this work?
Like, no, you're up here for 6 months, dude. I'm like, oh man, that would not be good. But just all of the cool technological advances that have been made to get us to this point, all in preparation to potentially take us to, back to the moon and then ultimately to Mars.
Exactly.
I'm super fascinated by all that stuff. So I'll never go like you will, but I will continue to be a fan from the ground. I like gravity.
From the ground, safely from the ground with gravity.
I think gravity kind of tells you something, right? If you can't jump up about 3 inches and stay there, you probably need to stay right where you're at. I'm just saying.
That's good advice, Steve.
Yes.
That's good advice.
So let me ask you something completely different. Yeah. We talked a little bit about this, and we are going to be coming out for our upcoming season with a little bit of a format change, but kind of a preview of the format change. Is, what is something good that you've experienced over the last week? Something you read, something you watched, something that has kind of inspired you in some capacity in your own life or work. What is that for you this week? Or
what, this actually, for the past week, one of the things, and this was just something that I saw, Steve, that was happening in my practice, actually, in the waiting room. An interaction of somebody that's well over her 90s, and like she's 94, and her interaction with someone who was in her 20s, and their ability to converse with each other, but also the kindness and compassion that was being shown by the younger person to the elderly lady. I mean, it was something that I just witnessed happening, because the elderly lady was very nervous about being there. I mean, for lots of reasons, COVID related, everything. And this younger woman was just like putting her at ease and just talking to her and telling her all these great I mean, just, it was such a, it was such a sweet thing to see. And
that is cool.
You know what? It's such an amazing thing to see that compassion. When you see compassion being shared and given, no matter what generation, it doesn't matter what it is. I don't think that we see enough of that in our day-to-day life, or we don't pay attention to it as much. Whatever it was that caught my attention, it really made my week this week, actually, when I saw that interaction take place. I thought, how awesome is that? How cool is that? You know? It was pretty cool.
It makes me think of a story that, so here in the States on CBS, there is a guy that just finds all sorts of good stories to showcase, called Steve. His name's Steve Hartman. And he does these things on, the nightly news, and then, on Sunday mornings, which my son has officially started to call me old for watching continually, but I like to watch it. But
that's all right. I
mainly watch for his stories, and a few, I think it was probably last year sometime. It might've been pre-COVID, but there was a story of an elderly lady walked into a barbecue place, and there were, 3 black teens at a table, kind of cutting it up, having a good time. And they're doing what youth do, right? Just enjoying one another's company. They weren't doing anything bad or they weren't being overly noisy or anything. But one of them happened to look over and notice her eating by herself. And he said to his friends, that lady's eating by herself. Maybe she'd like some company. Now, this is something, they're 15, 16 years old, right?
Wow.
They walk over and they just brought their plates, and they said, "Ma'am, it looked like you could use some company. Do you mind if we sit down?"
Oh my goodness.
And she was so enamored with, she often wouldn't go out to dinner, I think, if I recall the story correctly. Because it was a little later. She didn't like driving to the place by herself, and it was a little lonely for her. She was a widow, but they sat down, and 2 hours go by where they had so much more in common than they ever would have thought. Well, then they started meeting regularly for dinner, just because they enjoyed the experience so much. And I mean, that really gets me, because of the power of connection and how important it is. But to see that, and then to hear your story, it gives you hope that, the younger generation is paying attention. They are willing to, step up to the plate to contribute in some capacity. When they see somebody out and about, and someone in need, or someone just in need of a smile and a hello, right? So
exactly.
I love that. Yeah. So that's pretty awesome.
No, exactly.
And I hadn't actually thought about that video until you just shared your story. So that, by extension, you just double rippled for me right there. So that was pretty good.
Yes.
That's
How
awesome.
about you, Steve? Did you have any experience this week that was really?
Yeah, so I had a lot of things that went on this week that have been great, but one of the things that I wanted to share is I've actually been rereading a book called Tools of the Titans by Tim Ferriss. And this is, let's see if I can get this on camera, but this is a collection. He has 2 books like this, and the other name escapes me, but it's it's basically a 2-page little interview with some very well-known celebrities and tech entrepreneurs and et cetera, about what sort of drives them. And the thing that I really kind of like about it is he breaks these things down to different questions that he asks them about, certain aspects of what is important to them, and if they could put a saying on any billboard, what would they say? And to hear some of these people, or to read the words of what some of these people put out there, are really inspiring.
Wow.
Books that have made a difference, books that they have that made a difference in their life that they have gifted to other folks. And so I'm picking up all sorts of really interesting reads that I never would have found or heard about. And I read this book, quite honestly, a couple of years ago, and it's a very thick book, right? But, you go through it pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So you can't tell it's thick if I'm not showing it. And what I've actually started doing, to be honest with you, is I make this part of my follow-on for my meditation. So I'll meditate in the morning before the craziness of everybody getting into the office, but I'll read a page or two of an interview that he's done with somebody. And so there's, as you can imagine, a whole host of people that I've never even seen or were not aware of. So I'm getting to learn and experience who those people are, going out and, learning about them via their websites or their videos that they may have out there. But it's been a really interesting experience. And what I've actually found is, in those moments that I've been uninspired or feeling a little maybe disconnected, I need a little pick me up. I don't go for the cup of coffee, or definitely not the kombucha tea. Oh my God, horrible.
Which we'll get to in just a moment. Yum, yum.
I'll go back to the book, and I'll just pick a story or two, or an interview, I should say. And I instantly have that state change. So that is actually something that I've been very conscientious putting it into my daily schedule as much as possible. But I picked up a couple of great tips this past week that have really been beneficial for me. So that would be mine.
That's great, Steve.
Yeah,
that is really, really great. And there is something so powerful about changing your state of mind is really key in all the things that we have to deal with. And if there's something that you can figure out that does that, that's awesome. That really is a positive way to change your
do it and share it. We would love to know, what you do to get those state changes. One of the things that Asha and I really encourage you to do is find us on Facebook. We have conversations with Asha and Steve. We have a Facebook business page now, and we have now the Asha and Steve community that we've built as a group.
Yes.
Because we can't figure out how to rename it, I guess.
I know.
We're just literally so important. We created a whole darn community, right? And there's an HOA. There's standards. No, we encourage you to subscribe to that as well, because we hope to actually carry some of these conversations into that offline world and keep these conversations going. But we'd love to hear from you on the Facebook page or in the group. If you'll just let us know you'd like to join, we'd appreciate it. We'd be happy to have you in there. But this is an opportunity for you to share some of what you do to pick you up your motivation, or what you do when you need a little shot in the arm for inspiration. Hopefully, we don't ask you to say it, but if you've been a longtime listener of our podcast, or you're watching these videos on the live stream, hopefully we give that to you every Friday. That's our goal anyway. So we hope to be a little part of that, but we'd like to know what else you're doing as well. So.
Sounds good. So Steve, you mentioned the kombucha tea. I know that you were trying to avoid this, but Steve is now trying a healthy new regimen, I guess, is why you have kombucha tea on your desk. I'm not too sure. Tell us a story about that.
This is what this stuff is. What is it? First of all, let me tell you the story about this. So they have, I'm from New Mexico originally. So in Austin, they have Hatch Green Chili Days at Central Market, which is the fancy version of HEB, if you know what that is. And so my wife and I went to the Hatch Green Chili Festival a couple weeks ago, and I embarrass her on the weekends, because I believe that you only go to before I ever got married, I used to go to to like Sam's or to like the grocery store on the weekends, because it's free sample day. And I'm that guy. Like, I would go, and then I would, go out to the parking lot, change my shirt, come back in as a different person. But so they have free samples during this day that we go. And this guy, is like standing there. They seem like a nice elderly gentleman, right? And he's like, "Would you like to try this?" And I'm like, Sure, you're so nice. I take it, and I swear to God, he had to have put something else in that cup because it tasted delicious. It was a little spicy, so they
Right.
mixed it with some hatch green chili. But he's like, "Oh no, this is that kombucha tea," and I'm like, "Oh, I've tried that kombucha tea once. Yeah, I'm not sure I want that. That is not my favorite thing. And if you didn't know what you were drinking, you very quickly figured it out. But I bought two of these things, and so I've been hesitant to try it. But then I'm going to try it for the first time here. It is hatch chili and pineapple and hatch chili. And it
Which
says,
I just think sounds like a strange combination to begin
oh,
with.
it says
Okay, I'm just
to
gonna say that.
shake gently, gently. This is, oh my God, it smells like feet. Oh crap, it's going everywhere.
It's bubbly.
Oh, oh.
It's good stuff. Good, right?
You like this stuff?
Well, Steve, I would not drink. Yeah, I like kombucha, but I'm not going to drink it with pineapple, hatch, green chili, whatever mixture. I don't like all those different flavors. I like the
Ah,
original kombucha.
yeah. It says 19 billion living cultures. Why is it putting cultures
Yes,
in here?
you just you just drank a bunch of bacteria. That's good.
Yeah.
It's good for you.
Did they
Yeah.
collect it off people's feet? Oh my God, that's
See, you went back for a second sip.
Well, I was trying to
I
figure
think
out
you're.
if it
I
was as
think you're
bad as
hooked.
the first sip, and
Mhm.
it is. It's not good.
Not good.
Yeah, so I'm gonna need
Okay.
you to like give me a different recommendation for something for healthy drinking, because yeah, this is
Totally could.
live kombucha cultures, and they just made these things up on the side. It's Guba Kanka Tonka. That was I can't even pronounce
You are.
half of these.
You're totally speaking a different
Oh
language.
my gosh, not good, not
But
good.
what, Steve, what are you going to do with the rest of that bottle? Maybe you can share it around the office
I don't know.
today.
I think if Mark's still here, I'm gonna give it to him.
I think that's great. Mark, if you're still there, get ready.
Hey
Lock the
Mark,
door.
yeah, I got something for you to try. It's delicious. So
Yes.
well,
Could
so
see
that we won't normally try those things on our episodes,
No.
but we just happen to
No,
be
we don't.
talking about it. So Asha had to save that till the end. But we appreciate you guys
Yes.
tuning in to another episode of Conversations with Asha and Steve. We're super excited now to be on LinkedIn, and we will be back next week with another live stream. As we said, we actually will be interviewing for the first time on the show a guest, Mark Schwartz, who has worked with us as our editors for our books, and we're going to find out just how difficult we were to work with. I think I was probably a dream, and Asha was
I think you were the dream. Are you kidding me? Yeah, you are. You're the dream.
I think
You
Asha
were
was the
definitely the
author
dream.
Zilla. That's
Pretty sure about that.
yeah.
Pretty sure about
No,
that. We're going to learn
and,
about that next week.
and we're going to talk about the upcoming release of Asha's new book, which, by the way, I'm going to show one more time. So is available for pre-sale. Do you want to just say just a real quick, blurb about the book, Asha?
Yeah, sure. You know what? This book was inspired, obviously, of current events, but it is about uncertain times, and it's really about what we go through during any uncertain time in our life. And it takes you kind of like on a journey, on a discovery of where exactly you are, taking stock of where you are, where you want to be, and what you want to do in life. And basically, this journey that we go through in this book is really taking you through to kind of go and uncover those things, because I think that we all can agree, like in this last 18 months now, with COVID being a big question mark uncertainty for everybody, we've all been faced with many instances in our life, whether it's professional or personal, that we're just like kind of questioning, what are we doing? Like, am I really wanting to continue in this way? Do I want to change some things? We've learned some new things, new ways of doing things. So,
Yeah.
so yeah, that's kind of it in a nutshell. We can talk about more about that.
Yeah. And it launches what day officially?
September 1st.
September 1st.
September 1st.
Right around the corner. So available for pre-order,
Yes.
and soon you'll have Asha's Audible book available.
Yes.
The audio files.
I will have it, Audible and print on demand as well. I'm going to have it in print.
Fantastic.
But yeah, so working on all that.
Super
So
exciting, and we greatly appreciate everybody tuning in today. Definitely go check that out. Be sure to get your book on order, because it's going to be a phenomenal book. Asha is brilliant. And you'll get to hear a little bit more about the creative process and, what it was like to work with Asha next week with Mark Schwartz. So we're excited about next Friday's live stream. We'll be back at the same time, 8 a.m. Central Standard Time, 3 p.m. Central European Time, because Asha's over there in the future. And so until next time, be sure to check out Conversations with Asha and Steve. We have a website and also on Facebook, and sign up for our new community group. We would greatly appreciate that. So Asha, you have a fantastic rest of your day. Stay out of trouble. I spilt this kombucha tea on my chair, and I think I'm going to have to burn this thing now. So I'm going to go take care of that right now. All right? Take care.
Good luck with that, Steve. All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
Take care. Until next time. Bye.